Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Northwest Arkansas Real Estate Experience. My name is Blake Yount, Realtor and Executive Broker here in Northwest Arkansas, welcoming you to this week's Market Expert Report. It is a weekly series where I dig into a certain aspect of the market, whatever interests me, and then I relay the information to you so that you can better understand what you are doing in this market in terms of buying and selling. And you can't spell expert without EXP. That is my brokerage, and this is this week's Market Expert Report. Hope you enjoy.
All right, this is this week's Market Expert Report, and what I wanted to get into was I wanted to see if there was any difference between what is sold and what is active sitting there. So the current inventory on the market is what is actively listed for sale, still looking for a buyer. And then we have our pending homes, which means they are under contract, but they haven't closed yet, so they're in the contract period. Active and pending together gives us our current inventory levels. And then I always like to compare that with what has actually sold and closed. So somebody put their home on the market, found a buyer, went through the contract period, and it's over with now. So that's the third column here, and then the other two are to the left. So what I'm always keenly interested in is what has actually sold. Gives us an idea, and this was over the last 90 days. I'll lay out the parameters in a second, but that's what people actually bought. What's pending is what people are responding to. It's the most current data you can get, but knowing that things aren't going for exactly 100% of the asking price, we would guess that the average pending price, it's probably going to come down maybe somewhere around 410 would be the average sold price of this group of 1267 homes. We'll have to track that as we go, but also, and then you throw in the actives, you see a pretty big difference, a $60,000 difference between what is actually sold and what current sellers that are active on the market that don't have a buyer, what they're asking. So that could be something that if you are on the market currently and you don't have a buyer, price has to make sense to the market. And it's amazing that the market always dictates its own flow. There's been a lot of talk in the news about how real estate commissions have artificially pushed home prices up higher for people, and it's just not the case. Commission was never part of the home price, and the market has always dictated that. The force of the market is too broad and too wide, and it's too powerful to have any one factor be the deciding thing in home prices. So you'll see right now the homes active on the market at 455,221 a foot. That's a pretty big spread between that and what is actually sold over the last 90 days. So very interesting to see how it all shakes out. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but if I had to guess, based on what's pending, this 221 a foot, this will have to come down in order for these active homes to move over into the pending column. So especially as we head into a winter market. But so the parameters of this, if you're a fact checker out there, you jump in the MLS. The parameters of all these numbers was Northwest Arkansas, which I consider to be Benton County, Washington County, Madison County, and Carroll County all together. And it had to be residential homes on a half acre or less, because that's the majority of the property that people live on. So I wanted to get a true picture of what most people are going to be dealing with, and let's go one by one, column by column, and then kind of tie them all together with what it means for inventory in Northwest Arkansas. So right now the number of homes active on the market, there's 1,311 of them. The average description of that is 3-bed, 2-bath, 2,027 square feet at an average asking price of $455,000 or $221 a square foot. And these homes have been sitting there on average for 75 days. 75 days is a long time for a house to be sitting on the market in Northwest Arkansas, and we'll go over that as we cruise along here. Into the pending, we're almost equal with what's active at 1,267 homes, 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,972 square feet. So a little difference, but not much there. But there's a huge difference in price, a $40,000 difference in price, $415,000 or $209 a foot. So the market is seeing these slightly smaller homes at a better price. They're just seeing more value there. And maybe somewhere around these 400s is when the market is kind of resetting or resettling, getting used to the $200 a foot mark, and also breaking through the barrier of your average home being at about 400,000. But these homes, the pending homes, took on average 41 days to get their offer. So if we took new construction out of there, it might change that a little bit, but we'll just keep everything included in there. So these homes on average, these 1,200 homes, closer to 1,300 homes, took 41 days to get an offer, which means they're probably gonna close 30 days after that. So a total time on market is gonna be somewhere between 70 and 80 days. Well, these homes sitting active on the market have already been there for 75 days on average, compared to houses that are actually selling. They're selling, they're getting their contract and closing in that very same time period. And that bears out over here on the sold homes, their days on market total being about 88, which means somewhere between the 50 and 60 day mark is when they got their offer on average. So what we're looking at here is, if your house isn't moving, well, before we get too far into it, let's jump up to the sold, the summary of the numbers there. 2,290 homes sold. Again, 3-bed, 2-bath, 1927 on the square footage. So, that's a 100 square feet. That's pretty significant if you think about a 100 square foot room and what you could do with the space. So, the houses that are active on the market, people bought the smaller homes. People are buying the smaller homes, and again, we're talking an additional space, one additional space. But it still, to me, is interesting that the under 2,000 square foot homes are selling better than the over 2,000 square foot homes, just kind of based on this little study here. 396,000, again, a big spread from what is actually sold, closed in the last 90 days, and what is available to people. Big difference in both the raw price and the price per square foot. So if you're a home buyer out there right now and you're looking for value, you're really gonna have to pick your way through, because we have a lot of sellers on the market, and maybe it's driven by new construction, maybe it's not. I didn't get too far into that, but we have a lot of sellers on the market that are listing high to see what they can get. Maybe their motivation isn't that high yet. Maybe they don't really have to sell, but they heard the market was good, so they put it out there. So as a buyer, you want to pick your way through all of that so that you don't end up essentially paying more than what everybody else is paying in this market. And if you're going to be in your house for 10 to 20 years, it probably doesn't matter that much, because the market will improve in theory over that time period to a point where you'll have equity in your house. So, but you don't want to go so far over. I mean, right now, current homes under contract are at $209 a foot, while we have sellers, the ones that aren't under contract, are asking $221. And in the last 3 months, $203 has been the average price per square foot in this 4-county area. So you just kind of want to be cognizant of these numbers as you go along. That $400,000 price barrier, along with $200 a square foot, I think is something that we're going to contend with this fall and over the winter. And then when we move into the spring and summer market, it'll be old hat, and people will just move on, and prices will likely flatten out or continue to rise slightly. And the reason I say that can be answered in that last column, but something I did before I got that far was I took the sold homes out of there and just to see what happened with the numbers when only we had active and pending together, because that's our current inventory. And these two numbers together is 2,576 homes, current inventory, 3-bed, 2-bath, 2,000 square feet. So that's in line with what we've had. 435,000 on the asking price and 206 a foot when it comes out. And to me, that's about right. That 206 a foot, 200 to 205 a foot, I think, is where your typical house in Northwest Arkansas would sit that meet all these parameters. And currently 58 days on the market. So, when you go to list your house, or when you go to buy the house, you want to look heavily at this days on market and what it means for your particular sale. So between the pending and sold homes, it's pretty even, with the 41 days to get an offer and closing on day 88. So that tells me your average home, maybe 4 to 6 weeks. If you're on the market over 4 weeks, heading into 5, depends on the market activity, but you don't have an offer yet, you're pretty high on your price. So you need to start thinking of coming down. And if you're a buyer and you're looking at a house that's been sitting there for 75 days, the first thing you're looking at is price. Okay, this home has not received an offer, so maybe what they're asking for, it doesn't match the amenities that it provides. You know, it depends on the subset that you're looking at. If you're looking at a 6-bedroom house on several acres, obviously that's not going to apply to this subset because the numbers don't count. But if you're looking at a normal house in Northwest Arkansas that's not new construction will sit on the market for a while longer because they'll start advertising, they'll put them on the MLS before they even have the foundation poured. So obviously that's 90 days automatic that you're going to add to all that. So, you know, but that's why we use averages when we're talking about these things. So the bottom line is, when you look at inventory levels in Northwest Arkansas, over the last 90 days, 25.44 homes closed per day. And that means that with the current inventory of 2,576, if no new homes came on the market, it would be just over 100 days worth of inventory, and it amounts to 3.38 months, which is a heavy seller's market. So there's a lot of talk out there that everything has switched, it's a buyer's market. It's not. We don't have enough inventory in general to call it a buyer's market. A 6-month market, 6 months, so we're at 3.38 months. 6 months would be balanced. Anything over that is a buyer's market, anything under that is a seller's market. But when you're talking less than 4 months of inventory, you're talking a pretty serious seller's market. Meaning, and what a byproduct of that is what you have over here, where the active list price is so much higher than what's under contract and what actually sold. Because sellers are really feeling their oats and they're saying, well, there's not a whole lot of inventory for people to choose from, so we'll throw it out there. But buyers are looking at it and saying, you know, we're not going to overpay. We're willing to pay a premium for real estate in Northwest Arkansas, but we're not just going to pay any old thing. And so they're waiting on it to come down. So if that's the game you want to play as a seller, don't let any agent tell you not to. It's your sale, it's your house. But if I'm your agent, if you're interviewing me, you're going to have the information. And if you want to sell for way too high, I'm going to tell you that I think you're priced way too high, and this is what's likely to happen. And if you end up actually wanting to sell, then we'll probably want to move you into this price range. But if you want to go on market and see, you want to experience it for yourself, I'm all for it. I mean, really I am, because sometimes you have to go through something for anything outside of that to make sense to you. And I'm okay, I can have that kind of patience. But I would caution sellers that are doing that, in the long run, you're probably costing yourself money. Because the psychology of the buyer is, what's wrong with that house? Everything else is selling quickly and that one's just been sitting there. Yeah, they cut the price, but maybe they should cut it some more because something's got to be wrong with it. You could have, your home could be in perfect condition, everything's fine with it, but you're 100,000, 75,000 over comps, and by the time you get your home priced where it should have been in the first place, the market has already decided that there's a fatal flaw with it, and the only thing that was wrong with it the whole time was that you wanted to price it so much higher than what the data said. So you end up costing yourself money in the long run, which is difficult to do in a market with such low inventory levels. So let's try to avoid that. Like I said, it's as an agent, it's not my sale. It's your sale. It's up to you what you want to do. But it's up to me to give you the correct information based on what I'm seeing in the market, what I know of the industry, and my experience that I've had inside of it. And it's kind of like take it or leave it. You know, you go to doctors, lawyers, dentists, you go to everybody, they give you an opinion, and it's up to you whether or not you want to act on it or take it seriously or go get another opinion, or it's no different. It's the same idea here. But that's why I like to break down all these numbers. So at the end of the day, I think I've already talked about most of what I want to talk about. Very interested on this sold number being around 400,000. The pending, we've pushed through that. So I expect things to settle for the next 6 months, right around $400,000, $200 a square foot. I think that's where we're at in this market. And then depending on how the fall and winter go, we'll probably start seeing some more growth in that area again in the spring and summer. But we'll find out. You know, anything can happen, but that's been the trend over the last few years. Coming out of the big hot market, and now we're in something that's still pretty hot, but it's nothing like it was, so we think it's slow. But again, under 4 months of inventory, under 3.5 months of inventory, we still have a lot of catching up to do, and so that should put upward pressure on pricing as we move into next spring and summer. So that is your market expert report. I hope you got something out of it. As you can see, it is a good time to sell in Northwest Arkansas due to low inventory and rising prices. And it's also a good time to buy in Northwest Arkansas because it's going to take a while for all of this to get caught up, which means, in theory, you should benefit still from rising values, rising home values in Northwest Arkansas for the foreseeable future. Until these numbers, until this inventory level balances out, and these days on market shoot up over 90, 120, we get closer to 6 months, there should be upward pressure on prices, which means you as a buyer now, you feel the sting at $400,000 and $200 a square foot. But if things keep going, when it's $210 a foot, when it's $215 a foot, $220 a foot, as our market continues to grow, these prices will look pretty good to you, and you'll wish you had pulled the trigger back then in the fall and winter of 2024, 2025. So, all right, yep. Hopefully you got something out of the little breakdown of these numbers. Once again, my name is Blake Yount, and I am a realtor and executive broker with eXp here in Northwest Arkansas. And this was your Market Expert Report. Have a great day and see you next week.